Hi, I'm Sonia Folayan, and this is the Mind and Mana channel here on YouTube. On this channel, I center the thoughts and feelings and concerns of Black women, particularly those who are 55 and older, or women who are thinking about the second half of their life, who want to improve their finances, and who are interested in a softer life that includes freedom, rest, travel, and ease. So, if any of those topics sound of interest to you, please like, subscribe, share, and give your comments below. I do hope that this channel provides value for whoever it is that listens, but I do want this to be a safe space for topics that are of concern to Black women. So today, I want to answer the question why, and the question that comes to me is, why don't you call yourself an expat? And if you don't call yourself an expat, what do you call yourself? So I want to take a few moments to address that today. I want to first look at the definition of expat. And an expatriate or expat is an individual living and or working in a country other than their country of citizenship, often temporarily and or for work reasons. An expatriate can also be an individual who has relinquished citizenship in their home country to become a citizen in another. And the other one is Wikipedia says that an expatriate, often shortened to expat, is a person temporarily or permanently residing in a country other than that of the person's upbringing. The word comes from the Latin terms ex, which means out of, and patria, which means country or fatherland. So those are the definitions. There's nothing inherently racist in that definition. However, there are some subtle distinctions in terms of how the word is used. And for that reason, I choose not to use the term for myself. What I have seen and what I am aware of, just in terms of the literature and how things are spoken of, expats are usually, the term expat is usually given to persons who are from European nations or Canada, United States, and that term tends to have a certain amount of power and privilege associated with those it's referring to. Also, the term immigrant is what's typically used for people who are of color. People who are not white are typically termed immigrants. And expat or expatriate is typically used to connote people who are, quote unquote, have higher educations, more economic status, more power and prestige and agency in terms of how they can get around and navigate in terms of society spaces. And immigrants are typically seen as people who often have lower education, who are of color, brown, and other colors, who are oftentimes fleeing for safety or for security, or they've been displaced. And they're often looking for permanent refuge or asylum or sanctuary on a long-term basis. Now, I certainly was born in the United States of America. I certainly have benefited from a quote unquote good education from a Southern Ivy League school. I have also certainly benefited from being able to eke out a career in a profession that was very good to me, that had its own amount of prestige and agency in it. I acknowledge all of those things, but I am not comfortable using the term expat for myself. For one reason, I have chosen to live outside of the United States because it is safer for me. I also wanted to make sure that I have a place where my children and grandchildren and family can come in case of emergency where they are in the United States. And I'll also, because of being a woman and being a woman of color, a woman who is identifies as a Black woman. There certainly have been a number of occasions where the color of my skin has um, created some challenges for me. None that I would trade, but certainly being a member of the African diaspora and indigenous communities, um, that whole race thing, which we oftentimes don't want to talk about, is and has been a factor in terms of the safety and security that I feel. Um, the other thing is the issue, the term expat often does have something to do with social hierarchy, again, and marginalization of other people. The the inherent value of the term expat as opposed to immigrant is that one has higher status, um, is more superior, uh, again, has more agency and power, and the other term connotates more inferiority and marginalization. The other thing that I have noticed where I'm living and in other places is that the expat community can often choose to isolate itself and to elevate itself away from the local community culture and customs. And this can oftentimes lead to a sense of entitlement. It can lead to a lack of respect for the local community, and it can create barriers. I also can honestly say that persons who call themselves expat, regardless of their skin color, I have seen engaging in this kind of privileged behavior. So, although I do acknowledge a certain amount of privilege and agency that I've been able to have and navigate through because of education, because of the ability to travel, the social and uh, familial networks I've been able to establish and benefit from, uh, um, all of those things, I am just not comfortable in using the term expat for myself. I do think it's important that we find ways to use language that's inclusive for everyone, language that elevates humanity. So, to answer the question, what do I call myself? I presently call myself a Black woman living abroad. I also call myself an incomer. I also call myself a newcomer. Um, the term for me is an evolving process as I'm evolving uh, as a citizen of the world and as someone who lives abroad from my home country. Uh, how I define and see myself is going to change and grow as I change and grow over time. Uh, but the term expat is not the term for me. Um, and I'm not offended by anyone else who chooses to use it. It's just not for me. So this is my opinion, how I'm navigating around the world and in relation to others in terms of how I call myself, how I see myself as a neighbor, how I see myself as someone who's integrated and trying to integrate, who wants to integrate and develop relationships within the community that I've chosen. Um, Expat is just not the term for me. Again, I'm not offended if you want to use it, but it's not the term for me. So I hope that answers some of that question. And as I continue to define and refine and settle into who I am and where I am in the world, I'll share that as it develops as well. So I hope that answers some questions for you all. And I just want to thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.